I don't know why, but you are watching the Madness Comic Network. Are you mental?
Beyond the world we know is a place where reality bends and time stands still. A place where legends, fairy tales, and nightmares are real. A world where legends are born and destinies collide. Alice has spent her life lost in an interdimensional rift known as Wonderland, and it forged her into a deadly bounty hunter. With her ancient clockwork guardian Big Ten by her side, they hunt the things that stalk the shadows of Wonderland. Alice Lost in Wonderland, issues 1 and 2 launch May 6 on Kickstarter. Follow along at GoMrFish.com.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday Morning Brew. I am your hostess with the hottest coffee around, Laurie Calcaterra, writer creator of Path of the Pale Rider. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is the last day of fulfillment. I have 7 more packages to ship out, and my pirate ship took a dump. I have I must have shipped out like hundreds of things, and I get to the last 7, and pirate ship was like, "We can't process anything else," and I was like, "Ha ha ha ha." So I'm just gonna end up going to freaking UPS and being like, "Hi, can I pay to ship all these things?" And I have to bring all the addresses, so that'll be fun. But they will all be done today. I need to move on. I got stuff to do. I got a lettering project that's due in like 2 weeks, so I need to get that done next. I wanted to show you guys some of the cool stuff that people are getting. I was gonna say people are getting their stuff already, and it's awesome. Thanks, Lou. And so you guys know we make pops, right? So these are custom made pops. This one was the one that we premiered last campaign. Yeah, premiered last campaign. This is Francis St. Clair, complete with a bullet hole through his head, which is amazing. But I just wanted to show off, like, there's 3 people getting these because they're limited to 5. And then just what a great job the studio does. These are done by Unique Concept Studio, and they make such a great product that I just keep going back. And they've been doing them since my very first campaign. So this is Francis St. Clair. He was number 5. The new pop that we premiered this campaign was Jimmy. So it's hard to see him in the box. I was going to take him out and then decided not to, but he is covered in blister beetles. And so if you have read issue 5, you know, right? And so here's a first look at Jimmy. Everybody else will be able to get Jimmy on the next campaign, and then we will premiere a new pop. But I just love, like, he's number 6. So we welcome Jimmy to the family. He's covered in blister beetles. He's so cool. His little disc is red as well, so it's a good time. So there's those. I don't know if you guys saw what the secret reward was this time around, but it's this little cool shadow box. Oh my god, those beetles. And this is cool. I 3D printed these, and it's just like different layers of 3D printed scenery. And then when you put them all together, they make just a Western scene with the bear. These are interchangeable. So if you have the box, we can do different layers and make different scenes. So that'll be fun to come back to in the future. If you missed out on these, I don't know what to tell you. We might bring them back, at least the box, and maybe a different pattern. But the secret awards are super cool. I already have plans for the next one. It is something wearable. I'm just going to say that. The last thing I'm going to show off before we bring in our guests, I just wanted to show you guys, of course, how nice these wooden covers turn out. So, legitimate piece of wood. It's really on there, guys. So it's like you would get your metal cover, but this is the wooden cover. And so I laser engraved these myself and cut them out, lovingly stain them, poly, and then attach them to the comic. These are super nice. I'm probably make some extras to sell at cons, but not too many because I want these to be kind of a limited number. So, hey, everybody in the chat, by the way, I'm nice to see you. Good morning. It's Tuesday. So let me put all my goodies away. These are all my goodies that I'm keeping for myself. Ha ha ha. Yes, Pops? Oh, you're going to pop in and say something? What?
Yeah. Are you in the right studio?
I don't know. I thought I was in the right studio.
Yeah, it says you are. I don't know. Twitter or StreamYard and Twitter, it looks like it's got the Fish Lee promo on top of your show over on Twitter.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's weird. Because it ain't even in the studio, right? No, it's not. That's weird. Okay. Just checking. Have fun.
Yeah, I'm in the right studio. It's me. Anyway, enough about me. Oh, there was 2 more things I wanted to say before. I'm sorry. I apologize. One, I have dates for you. So the Slice and Dice is going to be on May 27th. So make sure you tune into that brew because I'm going to be using the bat saw to destroy a watermelon. And I will release the name of the watermelon on the show. I did go ahead and get the rubber chicken, which will be attached to the bat saw because reasons. So May 27th, tune into the brew to watch me myrtleize a watermelon. And then issue number 7 Kickstarter launch date is July 18th. So you'll be seeing a crap ton of me right around then. And then, of course, after that. So, but issue number 7, July 18th. Put that on your calendar. We're going to be launching. I'm already talking with some creators about some cross promotion and some really cool things that are coming. So, blah, 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 blah. Welcome to the Tuesday Morning Brew. We're going to welcome our guest for this week, Mr. Rich Davis.
Hey,
how are you? Welcome.
I'm doing fantastic.
Welcome.
And I'm extremely jealous watching all your Kickstarter rewards there. I'm like, my God, I want all of that.
I have a I think I have a disorder where I Just come up with like, hey, this is a cool idea. How am I going to do it? And then off I go and I create things for the next 12 hours. So
Yeah, those wooden covers. Oh my God, those are cool.
thanks. Well, we're a Western-ish, so I
Yeah.
think it would work, right? And I hadn't seen anybody really doing those. So I was like, we're going to do it.
Yeah,
So,
that's rad.
right?
I would love to do those. I can't believe you make them yourself too. That's insane.
Yeah, I know. That's me, insane. I get told that a lot.
But in a good way.
In a good way, right? In a creative way, like, look what I did. And then people are like, shut up, Lori. So, where are you at, Rich? What part of the country are you in or across the pond?
I am currently in Sparta, Tennessee, the dead middle of the
Ooh.
state and the dead middle of nowhere.
Oh my gosh. I was gonna say, did you have a chance to do anything for Free Comic Book Day over the weekend?
Yeah, actually, so I own a store in
You
Cookeville,
do.
Tennessee. Just opened last year. I've owned comic book stores since 2007. This is my fourth one. I like to
Wow.
build them and sell them. Each one's got a different concept. So yeah, I did a great free comic book day at Wonderland Comics in Cookeville. Met a lot of new cool people, and hopefully that'll propel us on for a great year of comic book sales.
That's awesome. Hi, cat. Hi, kitty, kitty, kitty.
Oh yeah,
We
hi
like cat.
Naruto.
What's his
By the
name?
way, this is actually Spookles. Spookily Boo is actually her name, named by my 9-year-old stepson when he was like 5. So,
Okay, that makes perfect sense.
and this one over here, this is Naruto.
Uh-huh.
He's a little more shy. So,
Oh, yeah, see? Uh-huh. Mr. Fish Comics, we were just on his launch party just before the show, and he has, what is it called? It's Alice, Wonderland. Sorry, Fish. I fail. I fail as a friend. But he just launched, so you said Wonderland, and his ears perked up. So
yeah,
that's
I
a big
think
ad for it.
we talked to Fish a while ago,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we're definitely going to back that campaign. It looks really cool, and we
Mhm.
want to get books in our store. So
Thank
definitely gonna check
you.
that one out.
Alice, lost in Wonderland. I know. He's like, God damn it, Lori.
Great title.
Sorry, Fish. My brain crashed and burned in that second. So it sounds like you've been in part of the comic book world in one way, shape, or form for a really long time, Rich. Take us
I
back to
have.
the beginning. Tell us how it all started when you started reading comics and then what influences you as a writer, and then ultimately what made you pull the trigger and say, I'm gonna do this for myself.
Yeah, so I've been reading comics since I was probably maybe 10 or 11, which maybe doesn't go back as far as a lot of people. But when I was a kid, I absolutely hated reading. I didn't want to do anything except play baseball and play video games. And I didn't want to do anything else. But my
Mhm.
parents, being amazing parents as they are, they really wanted me to, learn to love reading, because it's very important
Yes.
in your life. And so what they would do is they tricked me. They would, if I did well in school or I had a good baseball game or, did all my chores and was good, there were any reason they could find to do this. They would reward me by taking me to the next town over. And there's a little place called Bob's Collector's Den. And they would take me and actually could, back in those days, could actually drop me off at Bob's and I could just have a great day. And Bob loved me. He loved kids and he treated me with respect. And there was this lady named Cindy who worked there. She was amazing. And they introduced me to comic books. And so my little kid brain didn't
Mhm.
realize that comic books were reading.
Reading.
Yeah, and so I just fell in love with them, and that's led to just a lifetime love affair with the written word. Now I'm an avid reader. I read every day. And it wouldn't have been possible without my totally awesome parents who just wouldn't give up on me and didn't want me to be some kind of burnout video game addict. I mean, I'm still a video game addict, don't get me wrong, but I fit reading in there, like I said, every single day.
Yeah.
Um, So yeah, that's where it all got started. You know, I got into owning my first comic book store completely by accident. It tends
You
to be
tripped and
that's how my
fell,
life,
and someone handed you keys, like,
almost. So I went to college with this kid named Eric, and he owned a comic book store in Jacksonville, North Carolina, which is where Camp Lejeune, the Marine Corps base is.
mhm.
And he asked me out of the blue. I hadn't talked to him in years, and he called me up and said, "Hey, I'm in Wilmington. I was living in Wilmington, North Carolina at the time, working in film." And so he called me and said, "Hey, you want to get lunch?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." And so we go and we're sitting there, this place called The Basics, amazing restaurant. If you ever go to Wilmington, please check it out. So we had lunch and he was like, "So I'm thinking about opening up a comic book store here in Wilmington. And would you like to partner with me?" And I was like, never thought about that. So I thought about it overnight and I called him back and I was like, "Yeah, sure, let's do this." And so we opened up the store, and probably a month after we opened, Eric calls me back and he's like, "So I got a job on this television show on History Channel, but to do it, because he worked crew as well." And he's like,
Gotcha.
"But I got to move to LA." And I'm like, "Okay." And he said, "So here's the shop."
It's like, "So here's the keys. Good luck."
Right. And so here I am. I'm owning a comic book shop, and that was my first one. I loved it. It's probably the absolute best way I've ever made a living in my life.
That's
I've
awesome.
done a lot of weird things. I'm going to write a book one day, a comic called Mediocre White Guy, and it's it's going to be all about my weird life. I mean, I thought about. I was talking to a friend, and they were like, if I had done one of the things that you've done in your life, I would be amazed. But you've done all of these. I mean, it's like I've
Yeah.
worked for newspapers, radio, television, worked in film. I worked for 2 presidential campaigns. I write comic books for a living. I mean, it's just my life is weird, man.
Wow. You're like one of those most interesting people, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I'm kind of
Yeah.
boring.
But you're not.
Like if you hang
I
out with me at the house, I'm like totally boring. I'm like, let's play Baldur's
no,
Gate or Fortnite, or watch Naruto.
no. No, and I mean, like, that just comes with being an adult and having to have responsibilities. Because I feel like I'm the same way, like, I've been a lifetime martial artist, I stick fight, knife fight, I've choreographed fight scenes for production and, like, right? Write comic books as well, but it's like, that's me standing at the wall watching my kid play volleyball too, like, you know what I mean? So it's just,
Yeah,
we have
like
to adult at
superheroes,
some point.
like dual lives, our secret identities,
Uh-huh.
and then so
Yeah,
yeah, I like that.
and then my neighbors are like, "You do what?"
Right. You watch
So
their eyes glaze over.
you're right. Sometimes, yes. And my husband's like, "Please don't bring up comic books when we go to this party." And I was like, "Man, you take away all my fun." I'm like, "Can I talk about martial arts?" He's like, "No,
But why? That's cool.
boring, boring."
I would talk
So
about
Movie
myself.
Smash wants to know if your buddy went to work on Ancient Aliens. I'm just saying.
Actually, no. It was a show. It was William Shatner, but he was talking about sci-fi stuff, so kind of similar to Ancient Aliens. I don't remember the title of the show, because I mean this is back in 2007. But
Yeah.
yeah, I just know that it was William Shatner and it was talking about sci-fi stuff.
Oh,
So
there he
it was
is.
pretty cool. I think they got like one season out of it, and that's it. Um,
And that was all they could take, man. Stop talking,
yeah,
William Shatner. That's enough.
yeah. But Shatner's he's a
Headstones.
chatty guy. He really is.
Lou, I didn't know this. Depressing.
Wow. So
Here on the Tuesday morning brew, we have all sorts and kinds. Hey.
I write horror stories for a living, and that's maybe the most morbid job I can
Pretty
think
dark.
of.
But I mean, like, someone has to do it, I
I mean,
guess.
wow.
I don't know. Lou,
Wow.
you're
So
gonna have to come on the show and tell us about that. I'm
for
serious.
real, I'll watch
I
that show.
I have questions. And so, Rich, so you've been in comic books and you read comic books, but what made you decide to actually make comic books?
Yet again, another happy accident in my life.
Love it.
I was working as a playwright. Most of my writing prior to comics was playwriting and screenwriting, and so I had written this play called Dracula Reimagined, and we produced it at the Brown Coat Pub and Theater in Wilmington, North Carolina. Ran for 30 days, sold out shows, and nominated for a lot of North Carolina theater awards. We won 2, which was really cool. And one night, serendipitously, Tony Todd happened to be in the audience. He was in town filming something at Screen Gem Studios, and he showed up to the show. And afterwards, he waited in the bar to talk to me. Tony Todd's waiting to talk to me. How weird is that?
So cool.
You know, and so Tony and I actually became very good friends after that. And he was like, Rich, you know, I just wanted to hang around and tell you, you've got something with this, you know, with this script, and I don't think you should let it go. And he's like, we started talking, and the original plan was to adapt it into a micro budget film. So, you know, $500,000 or less budget.
Micro
And
budget, which is
yeah,
hilarious, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's
right.
$500,000,000.
Film,
When it's
tiny,
production,
you know?
yeah, it's like micro budget.
Yeah. So we talked about it. And I started writing the script for the screenplay. Tony was going to play Agent Brom. And so unfortunately, my wife, Amber, became sick with chronic kidney disease. And
Oh,
so she ultimately passed away in 2020. But so when that happened, I gave up on the film script. I threw it away. I deleted it.
oh my
And,
gosh.
you know, because, you know, it was like, I don't have the time or the resources, you know. And so Amber got so pissed at me. I mean, she has never yelled at me more than that. And she was like, no, you're not giving up on this. Like, I get it. We can't make the movie, but why not
Do
do a
something
comic
else.
book? You know,
Yes.
why, you know, and because writing a comic book script is very similar to writing a screenplay.
Yes.
And I thought about it and I was like, okay, I could do that. So I contacted Georges Genti, who was also a friend of mine at the time. He was doing Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He's doing a ton of Star Wars stuff right now. And I asked, which was my artist on Cult of Dracula. And it just went from there. I mean, Cult of Dracula, it exploded. I think I struck the iron when it was at its hottest, you know, right there in 2020, 2021, right after, you know, during or after COVID.
Right.
And it, you know, right out of the gate, it sold 10,000 units with a tiny little publisher called Second Sight Studios. I was actually their first book. It sold so
Yeah.
many copies that they couldn't afford to print the second issue. Which was no fault of their own. They just didn't have the distribution, you know,
Yes.
and nobody expected Cult of Dracula to sell that many copies. I mean, nobody knew who I was. Nobody who knew who they were. There was no distribution through Diamond at the time. They were the only game in town, and it boomed. You know, I called comic book stores incessantly for about 3.5 months, and they all got on board, and it
Wow.
went crazy. And so Second Sight helped me get with SourcePoint Press. SourcePoint Press picked it up, reissued issue 1, sold. I don't even remember the number, but it was in the tens of thousands. You know, and
Amazing.
boom, you know, here I am. I've got 4 books, 4 trade paperbacks out in stores now, and I've got a new one with Angel Hunter coming up this year.
Yes.
And I just wrote an 8-page story for a horror anthology called Holiday Spirits.
Ooh.
And I got a couple other projects that aren't finalized yet with other publishers, so can't say much about them except they're kind of cool.
Cool.
Yes.
I'm always like, no spoilers, but unless it's an exclusive, and then yes, please drop it on the show. But no spoilers. But that's awesome. That's a great journey, and it's like I feel like it's just kind of it's kismet. It's like it happened because it was supposed to. You know what I mean? Where it's just
It's got to be
part
the
of your
reason.
right. Part of your journey is being like, okay, this is what this is what I'm being told to do next. So that's what we're gonna do. and it seems to work in your favor. So that's awesome.
And
So
I've never
yeah,
take a leap. If an opportunity presents itself, thank God I've never hesitated. It's always
yeah,
been, boom, let's do it.
yeah, yeah. And sometimes that's half the battle is knowing when. You know what
Yep.
I mean? Sometimes if it's too soon or sometimes you're too late. But being on time and just I don't know if you can even learn that. That's just something that's innate where it's just like we're going to do this now and sometimes you don't even know that it's the right time but it ends up being the right. I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. So let's talk about Angel Hunter. When
Sure.
did you come up with this idea?
I came up with the idea for Angel Hunter about sometime in probably October of last year. We had
Also
just
recent.
finished up. We just finished up the campaign for A Reign of Dracula. I didn't do this campaign; it was done by the publisher, and I'd been writing. That was my fourth straight horror story playing in my world of Dracula, and prior to that I just wrapped up Prometheus in Chains, which was it was emotional hell for me to
Yeah.
write because as Victor's working through his PTSD in Prometheus and Chains, that's me working through mine from Amber's death, and so it took everything out of me, and
Mm.
I just did not want to write another horror story. I couldn't do it, and so I had this idea. I'd gotten really deep into watching anime,
Mhm.
and I'd watched this watched a show called Goblin Slayer. I'm still not quite sure what I watched in that first episode because it was, oh my god, jaw dropping. If you haven't seen it, there's a
I have
reason why
not.
it was called the most offensive anime of that year. I mean,
Okay.
holy cow! And if you watch it, I warned you.
I kind of want to watch it now.
It's really
Um,
good.
being a horror fan and an anime, I'm anime adventurous. Like I don't feel like I've seen enough of it to really know. I'm not, an authority of any way, shape, or form, but I know what I like. And
Yeah,
so it's kind of like, oh, what's this? You never know
Goblin,
from the picture exactly what's gonna
right?
right?
It's very misleading.
Yeah, like the trailer photo, like, like the movie poster kind of thing where it's like, I don't know. Just pick one. I was like, I just recently watched Delicious in Dungeon and I was like, what am I
I've
watching?
heard good things.
It's hilarious. So you never know what you're getting into.
It's on my
What's it
list.
called?
It's on my
It's on
list.
Netflix. Okay. Because that
Yeah.
was my next question is where do I watch this? Always
Goblin Slayer, I think, is on Crunchyroll. I don't if maybe it's on Netflix. I don't know. I know it was on Crunchyroll. That's where I watched it.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, that's where
so,
all the good stuff is. Let's be
yeah, that's where all the really good stuff.
honest.
But yeah, I'd watched this episode of Goblin Slayer, and I was thinking of, I went to bed after. I'm still marinating on this. Like I thought about this episode forever, and so I went to bed, and I had a nightmare. Like all of my stories come from my nightmares, which is
Shoot.
why I call them, the nightmares of Rich Davis. So I had this nightmare about being in a cave and watching the demon or god Moloch, depending on the mythology that you come from, and he was he was ripping Nephilim babies out of the bellies of pregnant humans. Nephilim being half
Yeah.
human, half So I had this, and I woke up and I was like, I got to write this down. So I started writing it, and I ended up writing the what was initially going to be the prologue for Angel Hunter, but we decided to move it to the middle and make it a flashback because I think it works better there. But yeah, this whole like 12-page scene that ultimately became the heart of Angel Hunter, and the flesh the typical script writing thing. You flesh the rest of the script out from there, write your characters, and just follow their journeys wherever they want you to go. And here we are. It's a 96-page volume. Actually, we just bumped it up 8 pages, so it's 104 pages now.
Wow.
So yeah, and this is actually the smallest, the shortest volume of Angel Hunter. The rest of them are going to be 120 to 160 pages.
Oh my gosh. That's such an undertaking,
Yeah,
you know?
I'm a
when
little
you,
insane sometimes.
no, I mean, like I aspire to be able to do that. I haven't been able to. I mean, like Kickstarter is a thing, and you can only raise as much as you can raise, right? And
Right.
so the amount that you need to raise in order to do a 120-page trade or graphic novel is significantly higher than what you have to raise to do like a 24-page issue. And
Yeah.
so I aspire to do a trade one time. You know what I mean? I would like to just tell the whole story as
Yeah.
opposed to break it up into bite-sized portions. But you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, the trick is if you're gonna, and the advice to anybody listening out
Yeah.
there, if you're gonna do a trade paperback, it's volume. You can't go into it thinking I'm going to order 100 copies because it will murder you on the cost.
Yeah.
But if you can order 1,000 copies, it gets very affordable. If you can order 2,000 copies, it gets really affordable. So
Put them all, Rich.
that's the next thing you got to do. But hey, guess what? I own a comic book store. I got
That's
plenty of storage. Yeah, I got
That's my
plenty of
next
storage.
honey. We need to order a store.
So, but yeah, that's the trick to doing a volume. When you're doing a floppy, uh, you know, 200, 300, 500, that becomes very affordable.
Right.
Um, your cost per unit, it's not cheap like if you're printing, tens of thousands like Marvel and DC do, but it's much more affordable, your final number anyway.
Yes.
For a larger volume, it's so expensive to do a
Yes.
short run.
I can contest to that because I did one, and I think we ordered 200, and I was like, "These are really expensive to print."
Holy cow,
Um,
expensive.
Yep. I don't know. I don't know if my husband would let me order 1,000.
You got a spare bedroom somewhere, or
Yeah, I'm about to redo a bedroom into an office, so I don't know. Maybe I need to
there you
build some
go, build
storage
some
in there.
shelves, like a lot of them.
We don't need this window. Just put a
No, no.
bookcase and put it in front of
And
it.
you're like, your kid doesn't need a closet. They don't even need a bedroom. Put them on the couch. It's adventure sleeping. They'll have fun.
Adventure sleeping. You know what, kids? We got a tent outside. Enjoy.
Yes. What kid doesn't want to sleep? Or you can do that whole King of the Hill episode where Bobby moves into the doghouse because the doghouse is really nice, and you could totally do that. A kid would go for it, until
Yeah,
they're
maybe. Well, we're in Texas, so until it hits July and it's 106, and then it's like, nah, can I move back inside, please?
hard pass. Hard pass.
It's like you can float in the pool. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Oof.
All right, so Angel Hunter, holy cow. You know what? I want to say real quick, you guys, about Kickstarter. It's such a big difference to the preview page than where it used to be. This is great because it gives us so much more information to get those pre-launch followers. You know what I mean? Instead of just showing a single picture with like a 10-word description is what it used to be, right? Look at all this. This is great because this isn't even live yet, and we have all of this information, which is super cool. So let me go back to the top. So I love the thumb banner. That's what that is. It's a picture.
Yeah, it's beautiful. That's actually going to be the A cover for the book. Obviously, it's bigger.
Yeah.
But the book is finished. It's whether we make on our Kickstarter or not, the book is getting made. The Kickstarter is really just to recoup our costs and hopefully make some money.
Yeah.
But we're going to be marketing this very heavily to comic book stores. We were set up to be in Diamond's previews, but they're gone. A little bit of a monkey wrench. Thankfully, over the years, I've developed strong relationships with a lot of retailers. So we'll be getting it into retailer hands. If there are any retailers listening out there right now. We're gonna come close to taking a loss on each unit that we sell to retailers, because the most important thing we want to give them is margin. That's the biggest barrier to getting indie
Yes.
Kickstarter comics into stores is margin. Because it's hard as hell to convince a reader to buy a book from somebody they've never heard of.
Right.
It's so much easier to sell Spider-Man or Batman.
Yes.
So really the only way to sell the indies is by margin. So rather than, getting a 35 to 40% discount, we're going to be giving retailers a 75% discount.
Wow.
Yeah, and we're keeping the cost low to the customers as well. Each volume is going to be $19.99 for
Wow.
104 story pages. But it's very important for us to get buy-in early on Angel Hunter, because this is projected to be an epic fantasy told over 10 volumes. So
Okay.
when it's all
Yeah.
finished, we're going to have well over 1,000 story pages. So if we
Wow.
don't get buy-in on volume 1, it's going to be a lot more difficult to do that. So we're willing to take a loss on this one to get people hooked on it. We believe this is a very special book. I think we've really got a special project here. I feel the same way about Angel Hunter as I did for Cult of Dracula.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, we're doing everything that we can to keep the price point low for readers, create as much margin for the retailers as we can, and hopefully sell 1 million copies, because that's how this works. You just throw
Right.
it up on Kickstarter and immediately got 1 million copies sold.
If it was only that easy, right? I mean, like,
Oh, I know.
we would all be there.
Yes.
I love how this is moving too. It's like right off the jump, as soon as you scroll here, it's catching your attention. So I am going to take notes and update my pre-launch page.
Joey
Cool.
Galvez from the Geek Collective designed this pre-launch page. They've been great to work with. Geek Collective they've really got their stuff together. I mean, he's done a fantastic job helping us market, creating this really cool page, putting up with me and my incessant list of changes because I'm a ridiculous perfectionist. And like, I'm even looking at it right now. I'm like, okay, I'm making notes for, okay, Joey, we got to change this. We got to change this. That's just me, and
That's
Joey puts up with it, He's
And
a good
that's
dude.
me too. I'm the same way, and I just feel like I can always improve, and I'm always looking for people that are successful to emulate. So
Me too.
absolutely.
That's how you learn,
That's
look
how
at
you
what's
learn.
working, look at what's succeeding, and
Yes.
do that and make it your own. Do it your own way.
Mhm.
You know,
100%.
so I really do dig this.
Hi, everybody in the chat. How you doing? Y'all hanging out? You have a good time? What you drinking? What coffee you drinking? All right. So one thing that I noticed in the what I want to say, the press kit that I got was that you were stressing how the story is character driven, that the
Yes.
characters themselves are the most interesting element, I think. And so I love that you said meet the characters, and it kind of goes through, who everybody is, but tell us why these characters are so important. Maybe if it's something personal to you or what it is to the story, like let's dive into that.
Sure. So there's absolutely nothing special about the plot of Angel Hunter. It's not original. You've seen it a million times. It's got everything that makes a seinen manga story good. The characters make it great. Like this character you're looking at here, Go. He's kind of our Naruto archetype. He's a paraplegic warrior with just an absolute heart of fire. He will not surrender. He will not give up. He's the kind of guy that his village is being sacked by this massive army, and everybody's dying around him. He's knocked onto the ground, and he will crawl elbow by elbow by elbow, dragging his legs behind him to get to a temple to save one dragon egg.
Huh.
That's Go. The character below that, this is Azaraza. They are a twin spirit inhabiting the same body. They can't exist in the world at the same time, except the only caveat to that is if one of them possesses a corpse. Has to be a corpse, and corpses decay. And so, but when they're inhabiting the body, the corpse decays faster. And if they don't make it back to one another by the time the corpse decays, they both cease to exist. So
Ew.
they're always in this constant conflict of each one of them wants to exist. They want to live. They want to be the dominant soul in the body, but they're also trying to save the other because, they're twins and,
Yeah.
they don't want to lose the other. It's the other half of them. And then the character here below, that is Saoirse, which obviously sounds like Cersei. So it tells you right off the
Yeah.
bat that she's a wizard, and she has the power to manipulate darkness and shadow. So you can see the little
Ooh.
shadow tendrils coming out of her. And those she can use. Really fun. I love this. She can shoot those into a body, wrap around its spine, and rip its soul out. And that's what fuels her power. So Saoirse is
Oh, God.
she lives in darkness, but she's tempted by the light. Which is a
Interesting.
little reverse on that. And you never know if Saoirse is going to break bad. She's half
Yeah.
Nephilim, half human, half angel. She's a Nephilim. So, she might side with the fallen angels and destroy the world or wipe out humanity anyway. Or she might side with humans and save them. We don't know. It's a
Hmm.
very tight rope that she walks. She's one of my favorite characters to write, just because, but mostly because I played Vampire the Masquerade and I
Yeah.
love the Sombra. So,
No, she sounds interesting. Like the conflict within, and just how her decisions can probably sway the events of what's happening in the story either way, just depending on how she's feeling in the moment. So
most definitely. I think she's definitely a true neutral if you're playing, D&D,
yeah.
a true neutral character, because she could go either way. Originally I thought of her as like maybe a neutral evil. But writing her, I don't think she's evil. I don't write villains and heroes. I write protagonists and antagonists, and I let the audience decide which is which. So that inner conflict and that's very important to all of these characters because they've got these amazing special abilities. Again, common trope in manga. Three special children, and they are that. They've got these powers that power scale as they go through the story. But it's that inner turmoil that
Mm,
really brings them to life. It's that conflict. And Saoirse, I think, is probably the most prominent example of that.
interesting. That's one of my favorite parts about building a story is the opportunity and choice that characters have to make. You know what I mean? Like that to me is the most interesting to walk in their shoes and be like, what choice they make in this situation. I love that. That's one of the fun parts about
Absolutely.
writing.
It is, because
Interesting.
I I get bored with pure good, pure evil. It's that inner conflict. The inner conflict is so
Yes,
much more interesting than the
I
external.
love it. Well,
Yeah,
it's just and it's more realistic. Like people are not all one side. I love complicated villains. I love heroes that you get to see their true motivations and make mistakes and have flaws. Like that to me is much more relatable than the untouchable hero with the sense of good. You know what I
right.
mean?
Because none of us
Yeah, I've
are pure
seen
good.
that.
Pure,
I'm
you know.
bored. Do something
Yeah,
different.
yeah.
Well, yeah, that's
And this is
I would
Aiden. He's our primary antagonist.
Okay.
He's heroic by nature, villainous by choice, and it's again, it's really difficult to argue that he's a villain. It's kind of like Doctor Doom. If you're reading
Mhm.
One World Under Doom right now, it's hard to argue that he's wrong. Lex Luthor, the same thing. I mean, Lex's whole thing is like, this is a godlike alien. It's
That's
dangerous.
dangerous.
It's hard to argue with that. And so Aiden is hell bent on setting the world free. He believes that the radiant god is tyrannous and
Mm.
it's enslaving humanity. And because you'll find out very quickly he's also a Nephilim, but he was
Oh,
raised
he is.
differently than our three special children, and so he sees things from a different perspective. He was raised by a fallen angel, whereas the other three were raised by humans. Aiden's a really cool character. He's kind of Darth Vader. He's all powerful. He's intelligent. He's strong. He's fast. He's a brilliant tactician. But his flaw is he's literally falling apart. He
Oh,
wears,
no.
yeah, he wears this armor, and it's the only thing holding him together. Like if he takes it off, he'll disintegrate. And so that also symbolizes an inner conflict, because we all feel like we're falling apart, and if we drop our armor, we're done. So
Yeah.
Aiden just personifies that, and he's leading this massive, amazing army. I like to tell people, imagine if the Empire hit every planet in the Republic at the same time. That's the plot of Angel Hunter Volume
Oh,
1.
gosh.
It is absolute chaos. It's a blitzkrieg taking place across the entire realm of Odessa. It's not one city, it's not one village, it's the whole realm is being overwhelmed by Aiden and his army. And our characters have to struggle to escape from that, and to find their way, while he does his thing. I can't tell you much about his thing because it gives too much away, but
No spoilers.
yeah.
unless it's an exclusive, and then it's okay.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
kidding. But here's a nice look at the main cover. Oh,
Mhm.
Les. Hey, he's here. His personal favorite was the Two-Spirit character.
Oh yeah.
Interesting. I think I saw another stream Les was on where we were looking at this, where
Mhm.
the hands coming out of the mouth, and I was like, this is terrifying. So
Uh, yeah.
this was my first experience with Angel Hunter, and I was like, what the actual F is
It's
going
kind of what
on?
I thought when I first saw this one. I was like, ugh.
Oh, it was
Like,
Go. Go is your favorite? That's interesting. Yeah.
yeah, Go is
Yeah.
amazing.
Go reminds me of, I saw a movie not too long, and I didn't see it at opening. It was Bone Tomahawk. You see that movie? Bone Tomahawk?
Didn't know.
There's a character that it starts out the movie just fine, and then like slowly he gets, I think something happened. No, he starts out with a broken leg. His wife gets kidnapped by this weird indigenous tribe that like is cannibalistic, and they go after them. And then he's slowly deteriorating because he's got a freaking broken leg in the West, the Wild West. And so by the time it's like the climax of the movie, he is literally crawling his ass into this place to go save his wife. And they're like, there's no, you immediately think this guy has no chance, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So that's what
Bone
this reminds me of.
I gotta watch that. You
Yeah.
check out Goblins
There's
Here, I'll check out Bone Tomahawk.
trigger warning. There's some really disgusting things in there, just to let you know. When you
Okay.
know, when you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. And enjoy. It was one of those, I was just like, oh, okay. This is happening. It's
Yep.
gross.
That was the thing that happened.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you write horror, I write horror. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. I had a baby margarita blender in one of my books, so yeah. That was what the reviewer coined it. I didn't come up with that name, but when he said it, I was like, oh yeah, I did write that, didn't I?
I've had that moment too where people like, okay, let me ask you this, because with horror, it's sometimes it's like, okay, have you killed a dog? Have you killed a dog, Rich?
No, I
Have
will
you
not
killed
kill
children?
Yes.
Okay. So usually it's like, have you done these taboos, right? And I
Yep.
was like, because in my first issue, I kill a horse, and everybody's really upset. And then I'm
Mhm.
like, but it's okay. I haven't killed any kids. And my husband's like, you did that in issue 5. And I was like,
Oh
oh
yeah.
yeah. I was like, oh yeah, I did do that, huh? Oh well. Like,
I did have a dead dog in one of my books, but Mother Dracula revived it, and
oh,
it became this really awesome multi-poo vampire dog.
yes, a multi poop. I can't say it.
Yeah, I got
Multi
totally
poodle mix.
yep,
Yeah.
got totally inspired by Triple H's character in Blade Trinity. You know, he's got the little vampire Pomeranian, and I'm like, hey, I've got two multi poos of my own, and I would love to work them into my book, and they're going to be vampire dogs, like awesome little Pomeranian.
That that okay, that movie gets a lot of hate, but I enjoyed that movie. Like, I thought
Fun,
it was good. Jessica
yeah.
Alba's character was great, but
Yeah,
yeah.
it was just so much fun. You know, it's like you don't go into those movies expecting Schindler's List,
No.
okay? You know, just enjoy it. It's a
Right.
movie about a half vampire who walks in the daylight and kills other vampires with a vampire Pomeranian. You know you're not getting a serious movie here, guys. Stop scrutinizing it and enjoy the ride.
Right. And I'm like, and if it has Ryan Reynolds in it, you can assume it is not a serious movie. Just
There
assume
you
it,
go.
right?
It's gonna be some humor. And, you know, the cast was awesome. I mean, Parker Posey, you know,
Yes.
the indie queen of the '90s. Holy
I
crap,
love
she's
her.
great.
And
Yeah,
then
she's awesome. Her most Parker Poseyist.
I love her. I love her too. Parker Posey is amazing. Dominic Purcell, I like him too.
Yep.
Um, being a martial artist, I like when actors try to take on some of the action and they can actually make it look believable. And of course, Wesley Snipes is the GOAT when it comes to that.
Yeah,
Like,
she's
watch the
awesome.
first Blade movie, the opening scene in the blood rave was like, oh, this is just so good. And you can tell that they're actually doing the moves, which is
Yep.
so nice.
I wrote an homage to that scene in Rise
Mhm.
of Dracula. It's actually the opening scene to it.
Ah,
So yeah.
love
And
it.
that's where the baby margarita blender came from too.
Baby margarita blender. Do you remember
Yeah.
in the 90s, there used to be a website where you could blend a frog?
No.
Yeah. You
Oh
could go to
my.
this website, it was called Frog I forget what it was called, Frog Blender 3000, and there was just this frog floating in a glass blender, and you could push the buttons, and if you pushed them enough, it would blend the frog.
Oh my. Now did it blend or puree?
I think it
That's the
pureed at
question.
the end. It was pieces floating around at the end, right? But I mean, like, obviously in this day and age, that's not PC anymore, and it's down.
Ooh.
Like, you can't do it anymore. But I remember going to where you could blend the frog. You could do that, and you could microwave a hamster, I wanna say? I forget. The 90s were a weird time.
Yes, they
Um, yeah, so that's what I was like, baby blender, baby, that's what it made me think of as, "Ooh, you could push the buttons and blend the frog."
yeah.
Um,
You know the most disturbing thing about this that just occurred to me?
what?
Like, I'm totally fine with a baby margarita blender, but when you're describing hamster in a microwave, frog in a blender, I'm like, I'm getting anxious over here.
It was a see, okay, Lou knows when I blended the frog. Was it a hamster? I forget what it was. And it would, like, insult you as you're pushing the buttons. It'd be like, "You ain't got the balls," and then you push the other button, and it was like, "Wee, I'm spinning, I'm spinning." It was messed up. You have to go look it up now, Rich. You have to go to
The
Google and be like,
twisted
I think you can go to
connect.
YouTube and watch, like, I don't
It's
know.
probably out there.
Yeah, I'm sure it is, but
If not, it's on Reddit somewhere.
what's this? Who said someone said I reminded them of Parker Posey, and I said, "What's a Parker Posey?" Yeah, I mean, we all had the warped 90s, so
Yeah.
good times. These are the things that made us the way we are. Thank you, 90s.
Yep.
Yeah,
Twisted as all hell.
I mean, and then they wonder why we came out the way we did, honestly.
Yeah, I know.
This is cool too.
Yeah, that's
Mm,
Jordan Lorenzo's cover. It's for the super, super, super manga geeks out there.
yes.
This is inspired by the cover for the final volume of Naruto, which is one of my obviously I love Naruto, but I think it's one of the most impactful covers because you don't see Naruto's face. It's shot
Yeah.
from his back, and he's looking at Konoha Village, and so it's him ready to pass the torch to the next generation. He's looking over. He's looking to the future of Konoha instead of turning around and looking at you, which would be the past.
Interesting.
Yeah, so or at least that's what I got out of it. I may read too much into art. Les likes to call me the most artsy fartsy writer he's ever worked with. And I'm okay with
Les,
that.
there's a bunch of us out there. I like reading into stuff like that too on that level. I'm like, ooh, I like it. That's some
Yeah.
insight. You know what I mean? Like
Yep. I totally agree. You know, it adds something to your, makes you sound cool on podcasts.
Well, and I mean, like, it has, like, the intention you're so funny, Rich, but it's the intention behind it, and a lot of times, like, I do and I'm sure you do this too, you do something so nuanced that only a few people catch it, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So you almost have to come onto a podcast and be like, "Hey, if you look at this page, here's something I did, and here's why I did it." And so
Yep.
people then are learning, like, "Ooh, I should read into these a little more." You
Right.
know? Because they don't
So
realize that
subtle
layer is
things.
there.
Yeah, those subtle things make it so interesting, and
Yes.
and it just adds depth. In Cult of Dracula issue 3, there's this really cool kind of bootlegger scene, and this guy's running, and you see the side of his car, and just faded into the door. It says Johnson County Sheriff, which
Yeah.
that's a throwback to Thunder Road. Some people call it Copperhead Road. Here in Tennessee, it was the bootlegging highway from
Ooh.
Johnson City, Tennessee to Knoxville. And so it was also, I like to pay homage to my home state, Tennessee, and I'm a big Tennessee Vols fan. So Knoxville, Thunder Road, that's all really really special to us. So it's those little details,
Cool.
If you get them, you get them. If you don't, you don't.
Right.
Also in Cult of Dracula, every vehicle
Okay.
in there comes from a movie.
Cool,
The
Michael.
horror.
That's cool.
Oh, hey, Michael.
Yeah.
From Johnson City or Knoxville?
He'll tell us.
He'll
If
tell
he
us.
knows it. Yeah. So, say that again, what you said about every single thing is a throwback to
Yeah, every vehicle in Cult of Dracula is a vehicle
from a
from
horror
a
movie.
different horror movie. Yeah.
You got Sam Raimi's car in there somewhere?
Yeah. I mean, that's the obvious
Like,
one.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. And there's the Manson van is in there. I mean, it's all in there.
That's
If
awesome.
you're a horror fan, you'll pick them out. If you're not, doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah.
He says he's close to I'm
Oh,
from
I know.
Elizabeth.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know Elizabeth and Austin. Howdy, neighbor.
Yeah. Yeah. My one of my friends, Carissa Grant, is in Tennessee as well. I think
Yes,
she's
I know.
close to
She's in Knoxville too,
yeah.
or at least in the area. I love Carissa. She's awesome.
You got Christine in there.
There is a reference to Christine in there. Yeah.
See, now you get to go play Where's Waldo
Yep.
in all of Rich's books and just look for cars. It's
Yep.
amazing. All
Yep.
right, let's look at some of these interior pages. Oh my gosh, Les. These pages are just incredible. The amount of detail, the composition, the way that your eye moves through these is just incredible. These I would say are crafted. You know what I mean? They're not just drawn, they're crafted.
Most
Um,
definitely. I do love working with Les. He and I we fight like brothers all the time, and
Do you?
he fought me
Sweet.
every step of the way on this look. Because I wanted, it's an anime manga inspired story, so it had to have that manga look. And I think in the beginning, Les was of the mind that manga was all shonen manga.
Oh,
Naruto, One Piece,
yes.
stuff like that. But then when we started talking about Berserk, it's like Berserk's a manga. Battle
Yes.
Angel Alita, that's a manga. Attack on Titan, And so I think when we finally got on the same page with that, that's where this magic just happened, because it allowed
Yeah.
us to be less. But yeah, see,
Les
there
is
it
just,
is.
you know,
Berserk.
freaking out in the comics. We love you, Les. This is awesome.
And it allowed him to be him, which
Yeah.
is what I love. I mean, I've worked with Les on literally every book I've done. And it lets him be free to be his style, but it also pays respect to manga. And that's very important to me, because manga is such an integral part of Japanese culture, and I would
Yes.
never want to disrespect that. If you're not going to do a manga and follow those rules, or those expectations is another way to say it, then why do a manga? Why not just do a comic book?
Right.
And
I mean, can you even call it manga if you're not
right,
really,
right,
you know what I mean?
and
To be
exactly,
something else. And it's okay to be something else, but I mean, like, if your goal is to be in that genre, be in that genre.
exactly. And
It
with
is.
with Angel Hunter, it's being released in the manga size, digest size. It's black and white. We're not reading it, back to front. We are reading front to back because that would be too confusing for American readers, I think, except for the niche people who read manga.
It would
Um,
melt most people's brains, I agree. I read manga as well, so I'm used to
yeah.
that. Um,
Even it's hard. I'm like you. I read a lot of manga, and it's still my brain is like,
yeah, in the beginning until you're like, you're rewired and into the
yeah,
story, and then it comes naturally, but in the beginning, you're like, "What am I doing?
yeah. It's
Wait, that
confusing,
didn't make sense. Oh, I read it wrong." Yeah.
right? So, but yeah, with it was the character designs that were the big deal. I think
Yeah.
that made this very manga, and it's simple things like the eyes and the hairstyles. Because those hairstyles, each one of them actually has a different meaning. And
Really?
yeah, and they define the characters. Like pigtails, for example, tell you that the character is going to be a little silly. A thing coming down across their face that symbolizes a duality of character.
Mm.
There's just different, and those are just the rules for manga. And that way, when somebody's reading your manga or watching your anime, they get an idea of who that character is by their basic appearance.
That's
And
interesting.
yeah, and I love this page. I adore it. Is just
It's
so
just
beautiful.
gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
And
her
that's
face.
Shiroi Majo there. She's the White Witch of Edessa. She is known widely as the last surviving hero from the Third War of the Fallen, which was, fallen angels. We're dealing with fallen angels here. And so these heroes banished Moloch back to the Nether before he could do his thing, which can't tell you what his
Mhm.
thing is either without spoiling it. So,
Oh, no,
uh,
yeah, don't.
and
No
but
spoilers.
right, right. And Shiroi Majo is also a very conflicted person, and this isn't giving anything away, but she's also a fallen angel herself, but she's in disguise, and she
Mm.
was a neutral party in the first War of the Fallen, which was when Lucifer and the other angels were cast out. She took a neutral position. She didn't side with the angels, but she didn't side with heaven either. So she was cast out along with them, and now she's hated by both sides.
Oh,
So she's kind of built the city of Lycidia. She's built it around her. It's basically her fortress. And Shiroi Majo is the identity that protects her. So a duality of fortress, a physical one and an internal fortress. So she's been a very interesting character to write. A lot of conflict, and I
yeah.
think Les really captures that in this scene and in several others throughout the book.
Gosh, look at this interiors, you guys. Less, and I'm always impressed with artists who are able to do like Jeff Muth, who is also in the chat, does really amazing work, and it just astounds me the level of detail they can put into a page. Like my mind would never be able to do something like this. You know what I mean? How do you even describe this? You know what I mean? I would love to see how you wrote this page for Les to be able to put all this detail in.
Yeah, it's Les and I have always had we've always been in sync. You know, it's
Yeah.
when I describe something, he sees it. And it just I love working with Les. He's one of my favorite artists to work with, because he gets what I'm saying, even when I'm struggling with ways to express it. He gets it, and he also makes my ideas for page layouts look cool.
Thank God for artists because I feel the same way. Like I have a really cool idea for a page, and then my artist Gilbert will come in and just make it better with how he lays it out. I'm like, see, this is why I pay you big bucks.
If it
Right?
were up to me, I'm garbage with page layouts. If it were up to me, everything would be Alan Moore Watchmen style,
No.
five rectangles stacked on top of each other throughout the whole book. But I've been able to work with some really rad artists. Les and Jordan Dorenzo are probably my favorites, and
Yeah.
it's because they are able to really get what I'm seeing in my head with the panel layouts.
Very cool. Yeah, I love Jeff's art too. I need a cover by Jeff at some point. It's one of those like just have a list of really good artists that I want to work with, and I just haven't had time. Don't worry, Path is going on for freaking ever, so we'll get there someday. Ooh, a battle.
Oh yeah, the whole book's a battle. I mean, this is adrenaline fueled.
Dang.
Um, this is Walmaria's fall for 104 pages now. It's that
Wow.
intense level with the Titans stripping through the city, and it's just this is the most action packed book I have ever written. It is you push the gas and you don't let up until it's done.
That's awesome. Now, where do you where do you get your fights? Like, how do you choreograph your fights? What are you basing it off of, or what fighting style, or just make it up? Is you like, what are you basing your fights off of? Right.
Well, a lot of, and I'm not going to be very accurate with this because the only thing I know about fights comes from movies, movies and television shows and other comic books. So I draw a lot of, excuse me, I draw a lot of inspiration from medieval movies and television shows, The Last Kingdom. Blah, blah, blah. God, I just went blank on the one. Kingdom of Heaven,
Mhm.
the God
The one
was
with what
Legolas was in it.
yeah, I was gonna say that's him, Orlando Bloom.
Orlando Bloom, thank you.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
yeah,
with the Leopard King,
um,
right? And he had the mask on in that one.
yeah, that was
Yeah,
Edward Norton in that. Yeah,
yeah.
so he was at. It was really, really awesome. But movie Vikings was another show that, especially the sack of Dragon's Bay, that was very inspired by Vikings, and actually Go was heavily influenced by Ivor the Boneless in the way he was portrayed in Vikings. I just absolutely loved that character, the complexity of his inner turmoil, of his just character development. It was wonderful. So Go was inspired by him very heavily.
Hello, hello, Josh. Are some of your characters so the Nephilim and the light and the dark? So she's fighting with more of like a magic style.
Mhm.
Do some people have a blended fighting where it's not just magic, but it's weapons as well? I mean, give us
Yes.
an idea.
So all three of our main characters are Nephilim. Some of them don't know it, uh,
Oh,
but so they all have these special abilities, but they all have their very deep flaws as well, and their powers even come with deep flaws.
wow.
Go definitely. This is Athelstan, by the way. He's a character in Aiden's army who's he was initially a true believer zealot, and he's discovering that war isn't always black and white, and they're not always the good guys. He's seeing all this destruction and death and pillaging, and he's like, "Wow, that's not what the war I thought we were fighting."
Yeah.
So he's a straight up human, so he really sees the world through those eyes, and he's his armor's too big, his sword's too heavy. He's not equipped to handle this.
Shoot.
So there will be characters fighting with traditional weapons without the angelic powers. But going back to Go, Go has the ability to borrow power from the beast gods, and it gives him different abilities when he does. But the drawback to that is every time he uses that power, he becomes a bit more bestial himself. Wheel of Time, Rand is the dragon reborn. There's this great power, but it could also be his undoing.
Yeah.
He's going to be really fun to write. Les, you love him now. Wait till I finish the script for volume 2. You're going to absolutely adore him because you get to do some badass things with him.
Cool.
So yeah, it's a little bit of a blend of traditional fighting and the magical angelic powers.
Nice. Yeah. So I see like Hema, like a lot of European style sword fighting is what
Sure.
comes to mind.
Yeah.
Okay. Armor based.
Yep.
I love your GIFs, man. I like using GIFs on my page, and I never thought about animating words.
Right.
Totally gonna do that because this is
It's
really
fun
cool.
and it catches your eye. It makes you want to.
Exactly. It draws your eye in to exactly where you're trying to get people to look. So
Right.
this is super cool. And that's it, friends. That's the pre-launch page. I dropped the link for you up here somewhere. Let's get where it is. So this is where you can sign up. As you can see, there's already 139 people signed up to follow this project. All you're doing is saying, send me an email when it launches, and then you'll be able to have a chance to go through the campaign and pick out a tier that you like. Of course, this is the most important time for creators is when they run campaigns to make sure that they have the funds to continue delivering a good product. Now, Rich says this is already done, which is great, which means that you're guaranteed a book. So there's really not much risk there, but still we want to help support Rich in his endeavor to make sure he can continue doing this book and other books, because apparently we're getting 9 more volumes.
Yes. Yeah. This story is projected over 9 volumes. It's
gosh,
it's an epic. It's this I see occupying my time for the next 5 or 6 years writing this.
Right?
And Les is scared to death of doing it, but
see, but here's the thing. So when I first started shopping around Path, and it's big. It started out, like you said, as a movie script, and then I turned it into a comic. Being an unknown, I broke it up into 12. So like each act of the movie is 4 issues. And when I was talking to artists and I was like, well, the first arc is 12 and there's 3 arcs, they were like, I'm out, because they didn't want to be in, like, hadn't even read the script, but they just didn't want to be involved in a project for that long. Like, how do you get around that? You just got to find different people, or like
you just gotta twist Les's arm, and
you got to send them Rice Krispie treats.
And then exactly. And then you've also just got to say, look, you're just doing this. Don't worry, it's happening, and don't wait for it.
Use Jedi mind tricks, Rich. You are the artist.
But no, Les is he is a moth drawn to good projects. I've never seen Les put his work into anything bad.
Yeah, that's true.
So my job to get Les to continue to do this book is to continue to write a good script, and Les's job to get me to continue to hire him to do this is to continue to give me great art. And so we're both that kind of person. We're not going to do anything half-ass.
Yeah,
we don't do anything in halves. So yeah, I think if we continue to do a good story with good art, and we get that buy-in from readers, we'll be able to see this thing, this
all the way
epic
through. Yeah,
to the end. Yeah,
5 or 6 years. That's incredible. That's actually fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see
for
that.
9 volumes.
Yeah,
100 page on average and up.
Yeah.
That's actually,
and it'll it's definitely going to take less longer than that to draw it, because I think he and I discussed 1 book a year for him to draw. I can write, well, I could write a 6-issue graphic novel in, a month or two, but it would be shit. And I don't do that.
I mean, you could first draft it, but that's different
Yeah.
than
But I run into writers out there who completely undervalue what they do. And I think it's because they don't really, they think they have to crank out, 5,000 words. Yeah, I'm like, dude, this isn't a prose novel. Your word count doesn't matter. Get the
no.
scenes, get the characters, get them right. Take the time to actually develop a backstory, because nobody really gives a damn if you finish 6 issues in a month, or if it takes you a year, as long as you're hitting your production schedule.
Right.
So I can write 2 volumes of Angel Hunter a year. Les can draw, because it gives him time, because he's got other projects to do as well. So
Right.
a book a year gives him plenty of time to do that, and to work it in between his other schedule.
Mhm.
So it'll probably, Angel Hunter, it should probably be out in 10 years. God, that sounds so
Isn't that
long.
crazy?
Yeah. But it'll be written in 5.
I
So
always tease people, Rich, where I'm like, I'm going to be 95 and going to
yes.
Comic-Cons and running a Kickstarter for issue like 36.
Yep. The one thing I'll promise you today is I will not be George R.R. Martin, and we will get the Winds of Winter within a decade of the final volume.
Gosh. And I'm glad that you're writing it in advance. Like I say, in advance, like you're writing it as Les is drawing it, but you're going to keep writing forward.
Right.
Because there's nothing, I have this thought too, like, what if I die? And
Yeah.
we're in the middle of the series. At least if the script is done, someone can pick it up and continue it. And at least the readers will have that satisfaction of knowing what you intended for the end, instead of either never knowing or having someone else write the
Interest.
ending, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be what you intended. So
Yeah. If you've got it written out, or at least a detailed outline written out, you can
yes,
find your Brandon Sanderson and finish your Wheel of Time.
exactly. I'm not counting words in my book. I'm focused on what is happening in the seeds, where counting will hinder me. And I think that with comics, I completely agree with what Rich said, because it's not necessarily the dialogue, it's the action, it's the expression, right? Because it's a visual medium. And
Right.
so like my scripts for Path average around 14 pages. My issue number 7 is only half. It's 7 pages, but there's very little dialogue and it's all action. And
Right.
so it's going to be the same or more pages, but it has nothing to do with my word count. It's what's happening on the page.
Exactly. And people have to realize that, when I talk to, if I do a lecture, or, whatever, with, a lot of high school kids, colleges, the one thing I have to impress upon them is writing a comic book script has very little in common with writing a prose novel.
Yes.
It has much, much, much more in common with writing a film script than a prose. Prose novels require a completely different skill set, a completely different mindset, and they're just a completely different medium. So if you're writing a comic book script, you can't go into it thinking about word counts and things like that. It's not the way it is, and I think
Yeah.
that's really a difficult thing for new writers to understand. Because if you have a degree in creative writing, they don't really focus a lot on how to write a film script or how to write a comic book script. Everything's prose, 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 prose. And if you want to write novels, hey, good for you. That's what you need to learn. But if you want to write comic book scripts, go take a screenwriting class.
Yeah. It's way different. And it's like sometimes I have to remind myself, because I still write in screenplay format when I'm creating. So I
Mhm.
don't, and then I convert it to comic book for my artists. And that's another way of editing, I guess, for me.
Mhm.
So it's like this whole dialogue that is not going to fit on this page. There ain't enough bubbles in the world that can fit everything. So it's just like, okay, how do I, you know what I mean? Like you have to parse it down. for the
Oh,
medium that it's in. But I still have to refresh. Like the first time a character is seen, like this is who they are, this is what they look like, this is what their apparel they're wearing. It's still very helpful for your artist to read that if they're introducing someone new. It's not like, you know what I mean? I don't
yeah,
know.
exactly. And Les and I on Angel Hunter, he's got my original script, and then he draws the way he sees it, and then I go back in after seeing his art and edit my dialogue that way.
Interesting. Yeah.
And it's been this is the first time I've worked that way. And I absolutely love it. I honestly don't want to work any other way from here on out, because the editing process at that point becomes so much stronger. Because it's great to be able to visually see how the dialogue is going to come out. Um,
Yes.
And so yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed doing Angel Hunter with Les, and I look forward to doing the rest of it as well.
Very cool. So one book a year, you guys. You got to sign up for notification because yeah, you're going to forget from year to year. Sign up for notification. We are live all over the place. Straight up. Sorry. Mary's art and writing rather than shoehorning the artist. Yes.
Agreed. Yep.
Or the opposite, the Marvel method.
Yeah. I
Which
tried.
is funny.
I tried to do the Marvel method on this, and I got
Really?
close, but it's not my style. It's
Mm.
again, I'm a perfectionist, and I like to tweak little things, and the Marvel method doesn't really allow you to do that. But I think blending the two styles of writing, I think it's worked. And again, working with an artist who you have that relationship with, who gets you, and making a true creative team. I think that has been a very rewarding way to write.
I agree. I think your team is so important. Not only do they have to match your style, but really understand your process so that way you become a well-oiled machine. And it sounds like you guys are both invested in making this the best version of itself.
Oh yeah.
I like that as well as for my own team, where it's like if I'm like, here's a script and someone just draws exactly what I says and doesn't, like you said, like with the paneling and with the layouts, it's like there's another way to do it. They're invested. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Even those arguments that sometimes, wow, sorry, it is pouring outside of my house right now. And I was like, I feel like lightning just,
Oh, there's the thunder.
I was like, I feel like it was right outside my house.
I think it was.
I was like, so if I disappear, that's where I went.
I'll be here.
Okay. Like, if I disappear, I've been struck by lightning for real.
Let's hope that doesn't happen.
What's that?
Let's hope that doesn't happen. Catch that lightning in a box.
Let's not get struck by lightning on the show. Well, I gotta tell you what, if lightning strikes and I die, then it's the most viewed show ever on YouTube.
No, yeah, you know what?
It would end up being the most viewed show ever. Yes, it would. It'd be replayed and replayed.
Host dies on air.
Yeah,
everything, right?
But hopefully they understand what book you were talking about when it happens.
Yeah, I was like, watch the show, go to Angel Hunter, and then it was like, hey, at least we'll get some eyes. You always get the best out of an artist by giving them leeway with the script and allowing them to be a part of the storytelling. 100%. Everybody wants to feel like they're contributing creatively. Pure script is stifling. Yeah. Don't do that, Les. I said this. Take that. Like, who wants to work that way? Yeah. Let them art.
Yeah. And, to a degree on that, you can't just turn the artist loose. Now, Les, I don't have to, again, he and I work so well together. I don't have to worry about that stuff. But I have worked with artists who, they'll just completely ignore your script. And it's like,
that's different.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to at least follow the script. You can enhance the script, but you still got to follow the script.
The way I look at it, taking from my theater background, in most cases, and again, with Les, this is less required, but you're, as the writer, you're the director. And so you guide your actors and you help them to deliver the best performance that they possibly can. by using the abilities that they naturally have, how they interpret things, and you help them, you nudge a little bit in a direction. So, this will sound terrible, but artists need supervision the same way writers need supervision. But because again, if you turn them loose just to do anything, you're going to end up you stand a big risk of the art swallowing the storytelling. And a writer is just as important to a book as an artist.
100%. There's always that debate too, and I don't know
like
why. Yes, this
that
is true.
comment.
Yeah,
Yep.
you don't hijack my book. But it cracks me up when people are in all these indie comics groups and they're like, which is more important, art or story? And I'm like, why is this even a debate, you guys? It's both.
Yeah. You can't have a comic without a writer and an artist. I mean, if you don't have a writer, it's just a bunch of pretty pictures. And if you
Right.
don't have an artist, it's just a prose novel.
Right. Or really crappy art.
Yeah. Like
I was
me
like,
doing stick figures.
exactly. I was like, if you want to read Path of the Pale Rider drawn by Laurie, that would be very disappointing stick figures.
Yeah.
Can I put in my 2 cents on that particular?
No.
Go ahead.
I love it. The guest takes over. He says no. Seriously though, a good story. I can read a good story with just words. I don't need the art. I can create the art in my head. Okay.
Right.
I can't make a great story out of pictures.
Right.
I'm not a writer, so my mind doesn't work in the way of making a story out of this sequential art. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But a great story, even with crappy art, a great story, I'm going to come back and get it. Just like I can read a book without no pictures at all, I can read a good book with crappy art, right?
But that's the whole point, though. If you're going to do a graphic medium, it needs to have art that's decent. Otherwise, why do it? Just write prose.
Oh yeah, look, I'm not saying I'm just saying if it's a good story, I'm going to come back and get the next issue.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But if it's not a good story, the art is not what's going to bring me back to buy book 2.
You ever seen that video where they?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Rich. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna. That's that's kind of a mantra maybe, or it's something I talk to students about a lot. The art is going to pull you in. The story is going to keep you there.
Yes. I love it. That's what I say as well. I just laughed because someone had recently posted a video where there was a hole in the wall and it said bad writing. And then there was like, they plastered a piece of paper and painted over it and it said good art. Like, it's not going to save you for long.
Yeah, right. But that's great for book 1. It's like I tell people when they come to me with their first book in the series and they're like, I can promote the heck out of it and maybe help you sell some. But if it wasn't no good, not a lot I can do for book 2.
Yeah.
Right. As a promoter, it's got to be good, guys. So, refine it. Take the time to make it great.
I'm just a writer. Nonsense.
Yeah,
that's true.
And it's amazing to me how many writers that I run into who they undervalue themselves, and like they're afraid to say, hey, this is my story, and they're that they think that they contribute less than the artist. And no, it's a symbiosis. It's a team. You can't do a comic without both a writer and an artist. And sadly, most of us aren't Todd McFarlane. We can't write and draw.
Yeah.
You have to have both. But it really does. It disappoints me, and I try to encourage writers who don't value what they do. I mean, value yourself. You're important. I mean, most of the time, the writer is the person putting the project together, hiring the creative team. I mean, it doesn't happen without you. So know your worth, and don't be ashamed to tell people about how much you're worth.
I just wanted to make you big for a second because hell yeah, man. From the writer's side. And I mean, I 100% agree with you because we writers are the ones that, like you said, are the ones usually spearheading the whole operation. And it wouldn't happen unless we actually do it. And I always say, like, too, even if you are a very talented artist and you have an idea, to just bring a writer in to help clean up the script or find your loopholes and work around, develop things. Just because you wrote it yesterday doesn't mean it's ready to go. Work on your script and let it marinate for a bit. Go all the way through start to finish, and you might want to go back to the beginning and add things, foreshadowing and little tidbits that people can glean and then come back to later and be like, oh yeah, that's what Rich was telling me in these pages. And so you can always benefit from a writer. Have you voted? Oh, what? You just like broke my train of thought. Thanks. Thank you. Thanks for watching the show. I'll be gone. No, just kidding.
That's an artist who ran off the rails.
Yeah. It's like, what's going on?
It wouldn't be the show if I didn't rattle you at least once.
At least one time. At least you didn't boot me off my own show.
No. Well, I was waiting for the thunder and lightning to do that. But
it's been going on. Every time I look this way is because I'm afraid I'm...
It's not delivering, so I figured I had to add something.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. My goodness. Anywho, so you have any plans to be at a Comic-Con or places where people can meet you in the near future, Rich?
Yeah, sure. I know that I cut back on my schedule this year because I need more time to write. But I'm doing Heroes Con next month. I know I'm doing Dragon Con in September. And I'm doing New York Comic Con in October. So I skipped San Diego this year. I just couldn't make the trip. But and I'll do a few smaller cons in the area. Things I can drive to in 2 or 3 hours. I love to do those. They're a lot of fun. And I might do Scarefest in Lexington because it's a fun one. I love to do horror cons, because horror people are the best people in the world. So yeah, a few conventions here. Yeah, we sure do. I'll ship anywhere you buy it. I'll ship anywhere in the world. I don't care. I will take your money.
Carrie's in the UK and she's a big supporter.
Yeah, I sold Cult of Dracula sold exceptionally well in Ireland and the UK. So being based off of Stoker's work, the Irish definitely made a lot of sense. So yes, I will gladly ship to you.
Carrie, we'll go over that towards the end of the show. So don't leave. We usually do that the last 15 minutes. We'll have him tell you all his socials so you can follow along. Yeah. You know what? This is my first year doing some horror cons. I'm doing 2 of them. And I'm really excited. I usually just do generic Comic-Cons. I did Dallas Fan Fest. I do Arlington Fan Fest. I do Cowtown. This year I'm going to Red River in Oklahoma.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah, but it's like, but when it's a horror con and you write horror, I'm really excited to meet that audience. You know what I mean? Where
You'll
they kind of
you will do very well at horror cons.
Good to know.
Because horror cons are passionate, man. They love what they love and they're supportive as hell. You get a good group of horror people supporting you as a horror writer and you're great. You're golden. They're good people. I if you can get in with Days of the Dead, that's a fantastic. They do shows all over.
Yeah,
they're awesome. There's one Creepy Con out of Knoxville. It's a small show, but it's so good. The people there are amazing. But yeah, I love horror cons. I try to do 2 or 3 of those a year.
So I got invited to go to the one in Pennsylvania that's in the mall that they shot. Which it was one of the Romero.
I think it was Day of the Dead. Yeah,
Day of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead.
Yes.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
Except for it's the same weekend that I'm going to be in Michigan celebrating my parents' 50th anniversary, so I don't get to go. And then I found out that it's the last one because someone purchased the mall and they're knocking it down.
That is a sacrilege. What?
Because I was like, I definitely want to go next year. Obviously, I have this family obligation, but I didn't know this con was a thing, and I want to go, especially with the zombie crowd. Like, that's right up my alley. And they're like, no, it's the last year because they're going to knock it down. It's like,
whoever that developer is, I hope they step on Legos every morning for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. Slip and fall and get one lodged in your butt.
There you go.
There you go. Lego in the butt crack.
Oh, ow.
That would hurt, right?
Oh,
Les,
Frankencon's a good one too,
Frankenstein?
Les. Yeah, I forgot about them. Another small horror con, but they're good people.
Yeah, by the way, Carrie, May 27th is when our next slice and dice is, and I'm going to be murdering a watermelon with the bat saw with a rubber chicken attached. Dressed up as Pikachu. Because this is what I do. But Lego, that would be hilarious. Now, okay, some people have suggested I go as Karen to a Comic-Con. I just don't think people are prepared for that because Karen, the blonde wig, she just wants to
You just
insult
gotta
nerds.
get me back in here, don't you?
People wouldn't understand. It's already like I want them to understand path. I don't necessarily need them to be insulted by Karen and scare them away from the table.
No, Karen would be one of those things. You know how like the bad waiter?
Yeah, but I mean, like, unless you understand it,
right?
They would be confused, and it'd be like, "Do you want to read
we
this
have
stupid dork book?"
Definitely something we have to promote a little more. And I want you all to know on May 31st, Dante is going to make his first live appearance anywhere. And he is going to be filmed all day doing fun stuff with a friend who is also going to be in character. And it's going to be badass. And I'm not going to tell you any more than that.
Are you going to be at a con, or where are you going?
I'm not telling you any more than that. We will be at a con the next day. We will be at a con the next day. Yes.
Okay.
But I won't be. I'll be Pops at the con. Okay.
Okay.
But Dante is going to be doing a live thing with another person in character. It's going to be hilarious. Look, we're going to make sure that these Slaughterville characters have long life. We're going to keep them in people's faces. Speaking of which, we need to do a Killer Karen soon.
Yeah. Well, I'm finishing up fulfillment today.
I know. That's why I'm saying I didn't say nothing until I knew you were close to done. But yeah, and I have a couple of different people that I think we can talk to. A couple of different people, actually.
Rich, you want to come on Killer Karen?
Absolutely. I don't know what Killer Karen is, but yes.
So it's me in a blonde wig, putting on the personality of an actual Karen. Did he go or did I go?
Oh, he went. I think he went. Dang it.
I was like, it's probably me. I thought I froze because all this obnoxious weather outside.
I was going to give him the Killer Karen. I was going to give him.
This is an appropriate reaction to asking someone to come on Killer Karen. It's just to like disappear, be like, no.
I think Mr. Fringe from Lunatic's Fringe. He was on Fourth Wall Interviews. I interviewed him in character.
Oh, yeah.
I think he would be great for Killer Karen.
Karen would be so confused.
And I'm pretty sure Chuck wants to be on Killer Karen.
Chuck, yeah.
Okay, so we have people lined up. I think Carrie should be on Killer Karen.
Oh my God, she would be hilarious. Are you storming right now too, Lou? Because I mean, it didn't start until the show started, thank goodness, but it's storming pretty good. We've had lots of no hail, thank goodness, but we've had storms the last couple of days. A lot of water, like flood type water, where the roads are just full. It's been a mess. So
but yeah, I did pick up my press passes for Hall of Heroes Comic Con at the end of the month, and I had to get an extra one because
for Dante.
I will have somebody, a special guest, walking the floor with me.
Cool.
It's gonna be awesome.
Me? Did you invite me and didn't tell me?
Yeah, I'll be here. Look, if you were going to be here and doing a con in Michigan, we would definitely do some madness type shit.
Yeah. You know? And I need to. I need to come back to my hometown.
He's back. There he is.
Okay. I need to come back to Michigan. But stop. It's my show. I push the buttons.
Hey.
Yay. Oh, is that it? You had to go put on your alter ego.
Yeah, no. My power actually just blinked out.
See?
Yeah. I don't know why. There's no storms here, but it just went.
See,
I
look,
jinxed you because I was like,
Carrie,
I might get kicked off, and then Rich gets kicked off. So.
Carrie
Yep.
is challenging Karen right now.
Oh,
That's
Pops, I keep telling you, Karen, we look like teddy bear.
ooh, I'm getting
Well, it's one or two things happens with Karen. If you're that type, she either makes friends with you because she likes that you're aggressively a Karen, or two, you butt heads. So Killer Karen is my alter, I don't know, personality. We played an RPG game, and it's a horror-based RPG game. You go to this town called Slaughterville, and depending on where you go in the town, it's like a B version of all these horror movies. So like there's a B version of Freddy Krueger called The Dream Man. There's the Body Snatchers and Jason, and all of them are there. So depending on where you go, you can interact with these, like horror tropes that you are familiar with. And so I played with Pops Van Zant, and it was just the two of us. And I was like, I need a character that's going to be interesting. Like I don't want a boring character. And so I came up with this idea that I was going to be a Karen. I don't know why, but you were watching the Madness Comic Network. Are you mental? So we played a whole two campaigns, and she's an absolute bitch. And I don't know, it was a weird roundabout where I ended up like, wouldn't it be funny if Karen hosted a show and interviewed, comic book creators? She hates comics and she hates creators. She has this whole like scale of incels that she calls me. It's a fun show because you can come on and say anything and do anything and get antagonized by Karen. People are allowed to promote stuff, but it's just in a very, what do we call it? Extreme podcasting, something like that.
I love it. I love that idea.
But it keeps like evolving into things. So it's fun. There's a whole playlist in the YouTube on the Madness, and then also on my YouTube. But again, same thing. Like I got super busy and I had to cut back on a lot of stuff. I had some health issues going on. And so it was like the only show I'm really doing is the Brew right now. And so every now and again we'll do a Karen, but it's like I have fulfillment, I'm writing, I'm lettering, I'm going to shows, I have kids stuff. I mean, you get it.
No, you don't have anything to do. You're fine.
Nothing, right? Laser engraving shit.
Right?
3D printing. Rich, are you on X? Okay, they are all really interested in where they can follow you. So let's just go to that part.
Okay, yeah. So primarily I'm on Facebook and Instagram. X, Twitter, whatever scares the hell out of me. Because it's always been, I don't know. I just have this thing in my mind that it's very toxic, and I don't get into that vibe. So but yeah, Facebook and Instagram, you can follow me. And love to, if you reach out to me on either of those, I'm definitely gonna talk back to you. So, but
Cool.
oh, and I'm doing somebody's putting together a blue sky for me. I don't remember if it was Jeff or Joey, but I'm gonna do that, I think. And yeah, I probably do need to give in and get on Twitter, but that it's kind of
Well,
dragged me kicking and screaming.
let's just say this. I have one, but I just don't, I'm not there usually unless I have like a live campaign and then I'm promoting, and like I'm just tuned into the comic book community because there's freaking drama on every single platform, and it just finds
Yes,
you.
most
So,
definitely. And I just find, I've advertised on all of them at points in the past, but I find out, that Facebook gives me the best return on investment.
yeah.
You know, so yeah, I probably should get on Twitter, but I don't know.
I think you and I
I,
are around the same age, so I think that's part of it, is
Probably.
because right? Because it was like Facebook was first, and then there
Yeah,
was Instagram, and so those are my main 2, and then I
right.
really enjoy short form videos, so then TikTok. But, like,
Yeah.
I'm not good at X. I have a Blue Sky, I have a Threads, but again, it's like, do I use them? Probably not to the fullest extent, but it's like Facebook is where our generation, I think, feels comfortable, so that's where I'm at too. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
I mean, that's where my target demo is. I mean, most
Mhm.
most of my readers are, they're 35 to 55. I do skew pretty heavily female in my demographics.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I like to joke and say chicks dig vampires. So,
Are they sparkly? Just kidding.
No, I write vampires, not disco balls.
I laugh though because I always talk about like the life cycle of a genre, and it's like it
Mhm.
starts out as scary, and then it gets campy, and then it gets more scary, and then it gets romantic, and that's where
Yep,
it dies until it gets
yep,
rebooted.
yep,
Um,
yep.
yeah,
True
so I
Blood
was
was
like,
the apex of the romantic vampire era. You don't like True Blood?
yep. No, I don't. I think I tried to watch like the first couple, and I was like, I'm out. I don't like chick flicks at all. That's just who I am. Someone always teases me like, "Have you watched The Notebook yet?" I'm like, "Never will I watch The Notebook." I give me
Unless
Train to
I'm forced.
Busan. Give me,
Uh,
give
Train to
me the
Busan. Oh my
yeah,
God, really?
yeah, give me like the horror action, give me stuff that's exciting, give me all the John Wick movies. Notebook, I will fall asleep. I just don't care. And Twilight was horrible. Like I think I saw the first one and I'm like, this is just bad. And I think I
Yeah.
got talked into seeing the second one and I was like, F this, never again. Um, I was so mad when they were like warm bodies, and I was like, you tried to do romantic zombies. The genre
Yes.
has died. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like someone needs to reboot it.
Yep. It'll come around.
It will.
Vampires have been resurrected,
See?
pun intended.
Right? But I mean,
With
like Nosferatu was scary, right?
and Sinners. Oh my God, have you seen Sinners
Yeah.
yet?
So we're
Oh,
back to scary again. See? So
yes.
we've rebooted to scary, and then we'll get to campy, and then scary, and then romance, and then
Yep.
we'll do it
That's
again.
the pattern, yeah.
Mhm.
And but yeah, it's horror has its cycles, and we'll probably get some witches and then we'll get zombies again and uh,
Werewolves.
yep, yep.
Werewolves in there, and then
Yep.
zombies.
For some reason, they don't seem to last as long when the werewolf movies are popular. I don't know what it is, why people don't dig werewolves like they do vampires, but it's interesting to see those horror cycles repeat themselves.
Well, I can't think of I mean, like, because vampires, there's Dracula. I mean, like,
Mhm.
that is a name you can say that immediately you get an image of a character, right? There's not really a personality within the werewolves. There's no one wolf man that has in my mind, there's just wolf men. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like a condition. It's not so much about a character. So,
Yeah.
you see what I
They're
mean?
the monsters, they're not
Yeah.
they're not the people. And I think it's the people that we gravitate toward. It's the characters that we fall in love with. And it's hard to fall in love with, just a generic, even though there have been some fantastic werewolf stories,
Right.
Silver Bullet, Skinwalkers, Teen
Yes.
Wolf.
Ginger snaps.
Ginger. Oh God, I love Ginger Snaps. Holy
Right?
crap.
Cult
Yes.
classic. And it's the same thing with zombies. There's not really one zombie that people gravitate. We know George Romero. We know, slow moving, fast moving, virus. There's different kinds of zombies, infection, 28 days later. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But there isn't like any one zombie that people are like, Dracula is just so iconic. And so
Right.
that's why I think vampires kind of stand out, where it's just like, if you just drop that name, it's like, okay, now we're in.
I know what you
Nosferatu,
mean.
we're in.
Yep.
We're in. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
So
And vampires
werewolf,
are also the closest to humanity, I think.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Zombies being the opposite end where it's like you become not human almost,
Right.
right?
Exactly. Exactly.
I also
Um,
feel like zombie is also murder. I want to say this lightly. It's murder porn where it's
yep.
like you can experience killing a human without the guilt of killing a human.
Yep. Exactly. And horror people get exactly what you mean when you say gore porn, murder
Mhm.
porn. We totally get it.
Yeah. I was like, I'm going to say this lightly.
Yeah.
But that's,
I
I
don't.
think, part of it where it's like, I want to feel what it's like to lop a head off, but I don't want to do it to someone that's thinking. It's someone that's, just in shambles at that
Yeah.
point. Then I'm just protecting myself. So,
Exactly. You don't want to go full on hostile.
all right. Ooh. I watched that movie and my husband was like, what is wrong with you? And I was like, I wouldn't watch it again, but you just got to go through it once.
Yep.
I mean,
Somebody
it's
just brought
just,
up Lucian from Underworld. I'm like, yeah,
yeah,
that is a werewolf you can who actually has a personality.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Catalyst Vaults, where have you been all my life? Welcome to the show.
Right?
I agree. Yeah, that is one werewolf that we can say by name and actually know. What a great, movie series, Underworld. Love that one too.
I
But
do
I
too.
mean,
Actually.
you can name off so many more vampires. If we're on that line, it's like Blade and um what's her face from Underworld? Oh my god, my brain just derailed. What's her name? Celine.
Selena. Yep.
There's just so many iconic vampires compared to there's Lucian.
Yep.
I
And
mean, if you want to talk
listen,
about that kid from Twilight, who cares? Jacob.
I feel sorry for Taylor. What was his last name?
Lautner.
Lautner, yeah, because I actually met him at a film festival one time before before the Twilight movies
Really?
really popped. Yeah, I
Well, he
forgot
was
what it
Shark
was.
Boy.
Yeah, he was, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. And then he's actually an accomplished martial artist.
Yeah,
He really is.
yeah, I remember
So,
that, and he was such a nice kid. He really was, and he could have had a really good career, but sadly, I think the overexposure in Twilight ruined him, and that's sad that a role can make you, but it can also
yes.
absolutely break you.
Yeah. Isn't that sad?
Yeah.
It's that movie. Who's the other guy that played Edward?
Robert Pattinson.
Thank you. I'm just bad
Yeah.
with names today. I don't know what's going on. But like he actually was bad mouthing Twilight while they were promoting it, which I thought
Right.
was hilarious. But now he actually has a career. You know what I mean? But it's
Yeah.
almost like
He's a brilliant actor. I
he
mean, holy
yeah,
cow. You
I
see
mean,
him
he's
in Water for
a
Elephants. Man,
Water
he's
for
good.
Elephants, where he what's the movie he was in where he was Dolly, Salvador
Oh,
Dali?
yeah, I forget the name of that, but he was good.
Yeah.
I mean, he has, and Kristen Stewart gets some crap, but she's actually talented too. There was a movie she did. It was about Guantanamo Bay. She was a one of the MPs there, prison
Oh,
guards, and man, she's good in it. She really is. She's got chops, but unfortunately, she doesn't get to showcase them very much because
yeah.
Twilight, and then that god awful Snow White movie that she did.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that one. The Huntsman.
Huntsman, that's what it was. Yeah. Oh, it was terrible.
I
You know,
I always go back to when she was a kid. She was in Panic Room, and she was actually really good in that.
was, yeah, God, with Jodie
Yeah.
Foster. Yeah, I
Yes.
forgot that. Yeah.
That was a good
Yep.
movie. So, I
Definitely.
mean, like, we know she can act if you can find the work, right?
Right.
But it's
If you
just
can,
hard, these teeny bop movies that are like,
yeah, it's like Jim Carrey, the
yes.
dude is wonderful, but his fan base won't allow him to move into other
Yeah.
roles. They all want Ace Ventura.
Right.
And Truman Show was really the only one that he got to kind of bridge the two.
No? Did you see the number 23?
Oh, I did. I loved it, but the
Yes.
audiences rejected it. They wouldn't allow him to do that anymore. And
Les, I agree with you. Yeah, fuck them. Number
yeah,
23 is a mind warp. It really is good. It'll mess you up,
yep.
right?
And I even liked him in The Majestic. The Majestic wasn't a great
Yeah.
movie, but I thought he was really good in it.
Yeah, I agree. I think he acted well, but again,
Mhm.
same thing. Like they went in expecting Ace Ventura to that, and it was like that's
That's not what
nowhere
it
what
is.
they were presenting to you guys. Like you need to
Yep.
move on. Let the man do some other stuff, please.
Yeah. And at least let him go back and do Once Bitten because it wasn't quite as over the top as Ace Ventura, but it was good too. He was good in that.
Yeah, he was in. Oh, what was that apocalypse movie? There's a ton of people like Keanu Reeves and
Oh,
Aquaman. The Bad Batch. The
yeah,
Bad
Bad Batch.
Batch.
Okay, yeah. I remember
That
that
was a
one. Yeah.
messed up movie too, and I was
Yes,
like, "Who is that?" That is it was Jim Carrey under, like, hobo everything.
yeah. I
Yeah.
love
He's our
movies.
generation Robin Williams. Yeah, I agree. I could see that.
Yeah, you know what? He is, and I hope really before he goes, I hope he gets the chance to go through that Robin Williams, um, uh, that part of his career where he can do the serious films.
Mhm. I mean, even Mrs. Doubtfire. I was like, oh, girls, like my two girls, I was like, let's watch Mrs. Doubtfire. It's a great movie. And like the first 30 minutes is so depressing.
It really is. Yeah. It's like, oh,
So I was like, oh,
wow.
I forgot about this part. My kids are like, why are we watching them get divorced, Mom? And I was like, it gets better. You're like,
Yep. Yep. It's so
sorry,
funny.
sorry, guys.
Sometimes,
Yeah, right.
sometimes your kids need trigger warnings, I guess.
Yeah, I was like, it's a good movie. Just you gotta understand like the first part of it, and then the second part will make sense. I'm like, but you have to hurry
Yeah.
up to watch. And they were like, we don't want to watch this anymore. I was like,
All
fine,
right.
watch it by myself. Good movie. Anywho, I know we kind of went on a tangent at the end, but I think you and I can have like a great show just talking about movies. Gosh.
I think so
Yeah.
because God, I love movies. I really do.
Mhm.
There's nothing better to me than, especially in the summertime, for a matinee going to the movie theater. It's hot as hell outside. The doors open. You get that blast of air conditioning and the waft of the popcorn. And then, oh man, going to the movies that's my favorite pastime.
I love it. And I don't get to go that often anymore. I
Sadly,
mean, yeah, sadly. I mean, like kids. So obviously if it's an adult movie that I want to see, we have to get a babysitter, we have to find some place for them to go. And I mean, like we went and saw the Thunderbolts
yeah,
on Sunday, right? Because Saturday was free comic book day. And I mean, it was $50 for us to go for a matinee for 4.
I
And then
know.
they wanted popcorn and they wanted treats and they wanted drinks. And my husband had a burger. And it was like, we spent like $100 to go to the theater. That's not
Easy.
easy to drop these days. So
No,
we used to go all the time and it's just not the same.
no.
Gotta pick and choose. So I thought the Thunderbolts was good. I know a lot of people are knocking it, but I had a fun time and the kids
Yeah,
enjoyed it. So
the people who are knocking it are those, hate to say it, but I'll say it anyway, those toxic fans who just hate everything. I mean, there were people hating this movie before, they even released the first still shots from it. And it's like, guys, the movie's not even made yet. Shut
yeah,
up. And
yeah,
I generally just want to tell those people to shut up anyway. It's like, just enjoy it, man. Because if you keep hating it, we are not very far away from going back to the 90s where we are begging for a nerd movie. I
yeah.
mean, it's like a lot of these generations are just spoiled because we've had comic book movies for the past 20 years. And, it's like, guys, you're going to destroy the thing that you love. And it sucks.
I feel like we're almost there. We're on that cusp of destroying it just
Yes.
because, and it's because of streaming. And I know you know this, but it's like because there used to be that second release when it went to physical, like
Mhm.
Blu-ray and DVD, and that's why movies could do things that were risky because there's that whole second wave of
Yeah.
revenue. We don't get it anymore, and so that's why all the executives are like, "Sorry, if it's not a known IP, we're not making it."
Yep.
And I'm
Yep.
so tired of reboot, recycle, rehash. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Like, I don't want another Labyrinth with what's his name? Tom
Holland.
Holland. Tom Holland? No, Tom
No.
Loki. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, Hiddleston.
Hiddleston. There, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that. Like, I didn't need another Crow that tanked. I don't want a live action Snow White. I don't need another Ghostbusters. Like,
Right.
if these movies are good, leave them alone.
Yep.
Make new stuff. There's a ton, like your project, my project. There's so many good things that are out there that really they could do and have mainstream people watch, and they're just not. And
Yep.
it's so hard to get in there right now, and it's because of streaming.
Yep.
So
I
unfortunately, it is
wish
what it
we
is.
uh I wish we could get back to that late 90s, early 2000s golden age of
Yes.
indie films, Clerks and Brick and things like that. We don't get that much anymore. There's a
No,
lot of great indie films out there. They just don't get much exposure,
right,
because they're not established IPs.
right,
Um,
exactly. And I mean, like even like you said, a micro budget is
mhm.
$500,000.
Yeah.
Good luck raising that.
Yep.
Anyway, gotta end the show before 2 hours, otherwise I'm in trouble and there's shows after
Oh,
this. So, Thank you again, Rich, for coming on. You're always
Happy.
welcome back on the
Thank you.
show. Absolutely.
I'll come
Anytime.
anytime you'd like.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to book now, booked in November, and then
Oh wow! Yeah.
yeah, and then you should grab a spot maybe for next year because it's open. So yeah,
That
grab
sounds
a spot.
great. Right
So,
on.
but thank you everybody for coming and watching and being in the chat. We love it. Have a good time. And yes, I'm going to cut the outro short. Be excellent to each other. Kiss your babies, and we'll see you next week here on the Tuesday Morning Brew. Yes. I that too. God.
Click on the tube and